Get ready to blast Cruel Angel's Thesis and Requiem because we have two shows that just want to bring us an emotional roller coaster this weekend. And I think for even manga readers, for Jojo, they probably were surprised from the latest episode. For better or worse, Araki is the king of sudden character deaths without pomp and circumstance, and either that adds a degree of realism, or for some people it might leave them feeling unsatisfied. Like, for the death of Caesar, that came out of the blue. Like, he was the best friend character. You'd expect him to survive, but no, he gets crushed, and then the ceiling in the shape of a cross falls on him, and then Joseph just has to continue and fight the big old baddie because the human race is at stake, and that's just how it works. That's how it is, folks. And I don't want to cry here. I'm trying not to cry, but Narancia's death honestly hit me out of the blue. Like, Giorno says, this was sudden, and same here, fam, same here, but we get a gradual creep and foreshadowing to Narancia's death. We know he's the radar guy. He has, like, the Aerosmith, which can detect bodies, so logically he is a target. But when we see the little ladybug clip, and prior to that he had been talking about, oh, yeah, I want to study hard in school. I wouldn't mind if Fugo called me dumb as long as I got to see him again. And I just want us to all be happy after this. And I want to eat some pizza. And I'm like, oh God, this is like a pre-death monologue. He's gonna die. He's gonna die. So when the blood was dripping and then I slowly realized, oh, it's Narancia and Giorno's body right now. I was like, oh God. And then we see him skewered. We don't even see him die. We don't get to see his death scene. He is already dead on arrival, and then Giorno tries to revive his body, but he's an empty shell. And then we see, for the first time since he was 2, Giorno breaks down and cries. He says it was useless, but now he's built a family, and that broke him. And also Mista. Mista wasn't crying during Abbachio's death. He was trying to be stoic for Narancia. Narancia, I think he's like 17, but he acts like the baby of the bunch. He is the kid that everyone is trying to protect. And even Bucciarati, when he was leaving and when he was giving them the option, he didn't order Narancia because he probably suspected this kid could and probably will die if he comes to join me. That's why he doesn't give him the order. It has to come from Narancia, and oh boy, he's dead, yeah. Some people may be wondering, why are you crying, Whimsy, over fictional characters? Because I care. I care too much. It's disease, or maybe not. It's a plus and a minus for me. But, like, I am a mama bear. I am the mom friend. That's why I can Bucciarati, because he's, like, the mom of the gangster bunch. I've been a teacher. I, like, try to take care of children. And when the kid of the bunch dies, that's, like, the tragedy for the entire team. Like, even Mista and Giorno, they all break down crying, and that broke me too. And I thought that was a beautiful touch that Giorno created a little flower grave for Narancia. And I also want to point out that the salt in the wound, David Pro is like, want some more pain? I know I said in an earlier video that I wanted to see Fugo again, just to wrap up his character. And manga readers like, no, you'll just have to read the spin-off series. But David Pro, they came to stab us in the gut, like, et tu, brute. They brought back Fugo, and he arrives at Bruno's Posteria favorite restaurant, and it is closed, and it looks abandoned. It's like, maybe because Bruno is no longer bringing orphans there to feed them, maybe the restaurant just went out of business without Bruno there. Like, these people were so impacted by this wonderful man. Now that he's been gone for who knows how long, it'll be interesting to see what happens to crime rates in his absence. But it's just depressing. And then Fugo looks up into the sky and he sees Aerosmith. And we know that stands are kind of the deepest manifestation of someone's soul and their deepest desires. So we see like Narancia's soul turn into a bird, and then that bird flies to Abbachio's grave. And that is so depressing, but that was a beautiful, lovely way to wrap up his character. In a way, Jojo's Bizarre Adventure is a very creative and refreshingly unpredictable story, storytelling wise, and in terms of tropes. Like, take the body swap gimmick. Usually it's used for comedic effect, but here, well, yes, it was comedic. Like, it was funny, it was hilarious seeing Mista and Trish swap bodies, and then Mista crying about how he lost his dick. And then Polnareff and the turtle swapped places, and people were saying "Rip Jumbo," and I didn't even realize that Jumbo had died. So apparently he's dead now. I don't know if because the body he entered was so broken, he died too. I guess it just works. But anyways, Polnareff is no longer a stand user, but he is the dark horse here. He is the only one who can touch the stand. And one thing I am confused about is that the Requiem stand makes stands go berserk and only stands, I would think, because of like the connection or link between users and their stands, that the user would become berserk as well. So I'm a little bit confused about that part, to be honest, but maybe we'll get an explanation later. Maybe not. Maybe we'll just be told, hey, it just works. Don't think too hard about it. Just enjoy the journey, but I'm not enjoying the journey right now. It's just depressing. We're getting a lot of deaths, and the Requiem opening is very fitting. Oh, the one other thing about the body swap right now that I do find intriguing is that we basically have the separation of the two personalities. So you have Diavolo and you have Doppio. They've now separated into separate bodies. Like, Diavolo, he's MIA. We don't know whose body he is inhabiting right now, but Doppio is in Bruno's body right now. So that leaves for an interesting setup, and I'd almost like to see them fight it out for who is the supreme personality. So it's interesting to see the personalities physically separated in that way. Alright, that wraps up my thoughts pretty much for this episode. My one major complaint, and I can kind of understand how it panned out. I know it's the middle of the battle, but I would have preferred Narancia's death placed later in the episode, and then us getting the montage of his soul going to Abbachio's grave closer to the end there. But I do understand that David Pro is probably on a time limit, and also from what I've heard from manga readers is that there is even less pomp and circumstance in terms of his death. So I'm glad that David Pro at least gave us this sort of funeral and metaphor for Sweet Murder Orange Boy. Alright, next, and in terms of JoJo news, I've kind of mentioned this, but I haven't laid it out in as much detail as I would like, but I would like to host a live discussion, and I'm thinking of calling it a Requiem because it sounds cool, and plus it's going to be like a funeral service after all the character deaths we are getting this season. Okay. But basically, you can DM me, Instagram, or Twitter. You can follow my Twitter. It's full of very horny posts and thirsting. But you can contact me there. Basically, I'm planning on having around 4 people speaking, and I'm going to probably have to limit it to 4 so people aren't just shouting over each other. I'd have some structured questions that I'd let people know in advance so they can think on it, and then also we'd gladly take audience participation and read audience comments and questions. So it'll be a big old fun as a funeral can be. Probably it would be mid to late July and we'd have to figure out schedules. But get in touch with me, even if you're not a YouTuber, but if you want to speak and you are passionate about JoJo. Let's see, yeah. But I want to make it happen. I think the JoJo community deserves it. I know there's a similar thing with Reveries for One Piece, and with a big of fandom and as international as JoJo is, I think we should have a huge international live stream discussion. That'll be fun. Hope to see you all there, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Yeah.